Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 2-2. In today's lesson, we are going to be discussing logical things. We're not going to be using as much math, there's not any calculations today. It's literally, can you follow a statement and determine whether or not that statement is true or false. So let's go and get started. So a statement is a sentence that is either true or false. This is called the truth value. And all this really means is when we have a statement, is the statement true or is it false? All right, and a statement is represented using letters such as P or Q. These are probably the two most common. Later, we're going to use the term R. You can really use anything, but P and Q are by far the most common. All right, so when we look at this example here, all right, you'll notice that it says P, and that is the name of the statement, right? We're naming this whole statement P. Supplementary angles have a sum of 180 degrees. Now, do supplementary angles have a sum of 180 degrees? You should know by now that they do. Therefore, this statement is true. And now let's look at negation. So, negation is a statement. The negation of a statement has the opposite truth value, right? So, shown by the symbol, and you'll see it here, it looks like this, right? Now, let's look down here. So if we look at this example, right, you'll see that it says the opposite of P. And remember that P was supplementary angles have a sum of 180 degrees. So the opposite is supplementary angles do not have a sum of 180 degrees. And is this true? Well, we know that this is absolutely not true. Therefore, it is false. All right, so let's go ahead and go down here a little bit. So compound statements, if we had P and Q and things like that as individual statements, then a compound statement's combining these. So this is a combination of statements using and or. So it's a combination of statements using and or. So a conjunction, con means to bring together, right? So a conjunction is going to be something and something else. So these are statements joined by the word and. And it is written as P and Q. And you'll notice that this little shape kind of looks like an A. And that's how I always remember that it's and not or, is because it looks like an A. So this is true when both statements are true. So if both of the statements are true, then when you combine them, the combined statement will also be true. So what about the opposite? What about disjunction? So in disjunction, statements are joined by the word or. And it is written as P or Q, and it looks more like a V, right? So I always just remember it as the A means and the V is the opposite. So this is true when, I don't know why they give you three things here, but this is true when either statement is true. So this could be P or Q in this case, right? If P or Q is true, then the whole statement is true. So there's less conditions that are required for disjunction to be true. And that makes sense, right? If you say a nickel or a dime is worth 5 cents, well, a nickel is worth 5 cents, a dime is not, but the statement is still technically true, right? All right. So let's look at a few examples here. Now you'll notice in these examples, we are going to be using this statement, which we're calling P. There are 7 days in a week. We'll be using statement Q. March has exactly 30 days. And statement R, which is Halloween, is on October 31st. So we're going to combine these statements into compound statements and determine whether or not their truth value is true or false. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. It says P, and then it says looks like an A, right? So that means P and Q. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use both of those, and I'm going to type to save you guys the trouble of having to read my handwriting. So it would be, there are 7 days in a week, and, right, March has exactly 30 days. Now, the question is that true? Well, in order for it to be true, because we are using an and statement, both parts have to be true, right? So there are 7 days in a week, and that's true. So far so good. And March has exactly 30 days. Well, unfortunately, March has 31 days. So the second half of this is false. Therefore, the truth value is false. Because remember, they would both have to be true in order for this to be considered true. Because it's an and statement. So, I know what you're thinking. What if this was something weird and I didn't know what it was? So what if I didn't know that March had 30 days, let's say? Well, first of all, you should probably know that March has 31 days by now. But if you don't, just look it up, right? And actually, I implore you, as a human being, if there's ever things you don't know, always look them up. You hear someone use a word you don't know what it means, look it up. It's just going to make you smarter in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and do number 3. I like to do the odd problem, so let's do number 3. So this one we have a P and an R. So let's see. So both P and R would have to be true in order for this one to be considered true. And P is, there are 7 days in a week. And then it's and, because we have our and statement. And then it's R, which is Halloween. Halloween is on October 31st. Right? All right. So let's look at this. P and R. So both of these have to be true. There are 7 days in a week, and Halloween is on October 31st. So both of these statements are true. Therefore, our truth value is true. If I can get there. There we go. This is true. All right, so let's go ahead and go down to number 5. So this one says P, and then you'll notice it's a V. So this means or R, right? So P and R were the 7 days and the Halloween, so just like before, right? So I'm going to save myself a little bit of trouble here and post this on number 5. So in this case, we have to change one thing, right? And it's this and. We have to change it to or, because now we have the or statement. So there are 7 days in a week, or Halloween is on October 31st. So all we really need is for one of these to be true, right? However, in this case, both of them are true. Therefore, it's pretty much super true, which isn't really a thing, but in this case, it is definitely true, right? All right, so let's go to number 7. So here we're introducing the negation symbol, right? So what this means is that in practice, we're going to take our normal statement, but we're going to imply that it is not that statement this time. So if we have P, which is there are 7 days, and we have R, which is Halloween is on October 31st, then we're going to take the opposite of those statements, and I will show you how to do that. So if P is normally there are 7 days in a week, then the opposite is going to be there are not 7 days in a week. And then this is an or question, right? So or Halloween. Oh, forgot the L. Whoops. Halloween is not on October 31st. Now, you'll notice that what we did was we had the negation of P and the negation of R, and it was an or, right? So there are not 7 days in a week, or Halloween is not on October 31st. So as long as one of those is true, our truth value would be true, right? But let's look at this. There are not 7 days in a week. Well, that's false. And Halloween is not on October 31st. Well, that's false. So if both are false, then unfortunately, this statement even though it is an or, is false. All right, and that's basically the idea behind this. As long as you understand that this is a negation, you understand that this means or, and that, I guess the other thing would be the opposite symbol means and. All you have to do is just look at the statements, determine if they're true, and then determine if they are and, if they're both true, or if they're or if one of them is true, and then you can figure out the truth value from there. All right, so go ahead and go over the rest of these examples here. It actually gives you a chance to write your own 3 statements and then make your own conclusions based down here and figure out the truth value for each one if you want to do that. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and jump straight into the check-in, and I will see you in the next video.